Today's speaker will be Stoll. He will be speaking on his pathway, Engaging Humor, Level 2, Introductions to Toastmasters. His speech is called Unlikely Mentor. Stoll, Unlikely Mentor, Stoll.
Thank you. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, Madam Toastmaster. On my speech path is basically an understanding of mentorship. So the project asked me to come up with a time where I was a protege to a mentor. And I tried to think of a loquacious example that I could use. The person I chose, I've had a lot of great mentors over my career. The person I chose was kind of an unlikely mentor. I really didn't think he was all that much of an impactful mentor until later on, until I thought about it. With the company that I'm with now, I've been with for 10 years. He was my supervisor. He was the one who hired me over there. His name's Tim. Tim was a quirky man, for sure. He would always park in the exact same parking space. He would every day go over to Whole Foods for what he called his $18 salad. I don't know if the salad was actually $18 or if it was his dry sense of humor, but just every day he got out his Whole Foods salad. He would, whenever he would hear somebody talking, and we had cubicles kind of in the area back at the time we were in the office, he would kind of pop up and look around like, who was that? And he would always kind of try and find a way to kind of insert himself into a situation and sometimes give you advice he didn't ask for. Well, one of his great contributions to my career is he called me originally, but the job was a huge pay cut. And unfortunately, I didn't feel like I could take it. So I thanked him and I passed. Well, he called me about 6 months later. And if you guys remember my speech, The Most Horrible Boss, I was working for him at the time with the worst 10 months of my life. So I said, Tim, I am interested. So I did the phone interview with him. He invited me in for an in-person interview, and it honestly felt like more of a formality. He was excited to have me, and I had a really good feeling. It was a nice, comfortable interview, and he just asked me some basic questions on auto physical damage that I knew the answers to. So he called me, I think it was probably the next day, and asked me if I was interested. And I'm like, considering where I was working, I'm like, Tim, you had me a hello. Absolutely. He even had the start date that I was so miserable. If he would have told me I could start that afternoon, I'd have walked down from where I was at and started. And he told me, well, wait a second, I have to kind of wait for the background check to come in. So I ended up starting over at AAA about 10 years ago. And one of the things that was really unique is he actually asked me, what are your goals? And at the time, my goals, have a job, but I kind of thought about it and I told him, I think I would really like to get into management. And he's like, we have a club that I think you would make a great candidate for. That club turned out to be my first Toastmasters club. So he was the one who recommended me to that I was able to go through that. And whenever I got my first performance evaluation from him, I wasn't integrated enough with Toastmasters to understand how feedback helps you grow as a person. I grew up with a single mom, and my mentality always is when I get a performance evaluation that I need to put food on the table for my family. So when he started kind of pointing out some things that I could improve on, I took offense to it. He told me Chris, you really need to learn how to type. I was a hunting pet sniper. I was probably about the fastest hunting pet typer you could find. Well, you know what? I'll show him. I sat over here. I went into a little computer site. It was, I think, like learn typing on it. I learned that. Did you guys know this? That the F and the J button actually have little nubs to help align your fingers. I did not know that before. So I actually went through and I practiced and I learned how to type. So I really showed him on that, it actually made me better in that way. And another thing he said is like, when you have coworkers who come up to you and ask you, you have no problem helping them at the detriment of your own work. I kind of thought about it. It's like, hey, what's that supposed to mean? And I kind of thought about it later and I realized sometimes I kind of don't know boundaries where I should tell people that, like, look, I have certain tasks that I need to finish first. So he was right. There was another time where I wasn't feeling very good and I was trying to figure out, a wheel came off of a customer's car and I was trying to figure, is this going to be a comprehensive or is this going to be a collision point? So I asked him. And he asked me, he's like, well, what happens when the wheel comes off? And I told him, Tim, I don't feel good. Can I just get an answer for once? And, he's kind of like, whoa. I thought about it later on. If the wheel comes off because a person hasn't properly maintained their car, because they have the due diligence to make sure that their car is in safe operating condition whenever they drive it, if the wheel comes off, the car falls, crashes onto the ground, it's a collision. So he was trying to help me, and I didn't realize that. So I realized that in college, I was taught that a good manager brings out the best in you, makes you better than you were before. And I think Tim did that. I think I definitely was a better employee for my time under him. He retired probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years after that. He'd been with a company for like 35 years. And he taught me a lot of great things about negotiating with shops, handling customer situations. And wherever he's at in his retirement, I hope he's enjoying it. And I hope he's enjoying his whole food salads. Thank you.